Hello ballers and welcome back to Expedition 33. My god, today I want to talk about when you know you're in love with a game. And you guys will know, like most of your seasoned gamers, and you'll have this moment where you're like, damn, I must be really having a good time because I did so little story in this like 8-hour gaming session. Like I will get to the story that I did for sure, but what I actually did was just go and play the game. And I had one of the best days I've had with Expedition 33 just doing that. Just exploring the world map and bumping into stuff and just doing it and finding X, Y, Z thing all around the map. And it was just so fun. I was just playing. You know what I mean? And maybe it's more of a streamer thing sometimes. You feel like a certain compulsion or requirement to go and do the main story because a lot of people are waiting for the main story and to either they've not played it or they want you to get to a certain point that they had like a very visceral reaction to, or there's a big thing coming up and that doesn't happen. And instead you're just like, I will get to that and that's great and stuff, but I actually just want to do this. And the game goes, sure, go and do that. Like, go and have a lot of fun. I got to the point where SK could break through rocks and coral and things like that, which opened up the entire world map as far as I know. Like, there is... Well, actually, that's not true. There's definitely underwater stuff. I bumped into these bubbles around the ocean that SK cannot go underwater yet. So I'm like, okay, so that's still to come. And for all I know, because it does feel like we're getting towards the end of the main story, is that we're going to do a full Final Fantasy. Like, they've fully embraced it, and there's like, oh, there's an entirely new world map waiting for you. You're not even halfway yet. Like, this is going to open up and just do a whole other thing. I don't know where that's going. But because of that, and it's been bothering me since we went into Act 2, I think you can do it, but it's very awkward. They don't want you to do it, is to go back to Act 1 to start cleaning things up. Now I could. So I was like, okay, let's go back to Act 1, because there's tons of stuff that I've not done there yet because I didn't realize we were moving to Act 2 and we were going to get locked off, right? So I found my way back, immediately went and killed the Welsh sheep. The first sort of, not unkillable, and this is actually going to come up again later today, is I have found a ton of bosses, and because of the nature of the game, of being able to completely avoid all damage, which in some ways, let me get to that in a bit, it just had too much HP. Like, I could avoid all its damage, but it had so much HP that you're eventually going to run into the situation where you perfectly avoid all damage for maybe 30 minutes, and that is, by that point, hundreds of perfect parries. And something's going to go wrong at some point, right? Like, that's just the nature of life at that point. If you try and do a perfect timing of something for hours, at some point you're going to screw one up, and then it just kills you and you have to kind of restart. And so it had been bothering me. I haven't killed that for a while, and we've killed much more difficult bosses, including the frost monster, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and deal with that. So I went back, killed that in the first try, which was really funny. I was like, oh, okay. And it's one of those where you go back after you've done much more difficult content, and the telegraphs for how you avoid these mechanics are so easy now. Like, crazy, crazy easy. It's like, oh my god, this is like silver platter type avoidance compared to what is happening later in the game, where they're baiting you and doing spinning animations, and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff to make sure they can hit you, because by this point, you're probably pretty good at the parry system. This is an Act 1 boss, and so it goes like, ding, press parry now. And you like press it, it's like, oh, good job, you did it. So clap that, cheeks. And then explored more of Act 1. I had missed various caves, a load of little monsters that are roaming around in the world, some locked off areas. Finally found Energizing Start 1, which is a really awkward thing to get because it's buried later on in it's buried in Act 1, and you get like I have Energizing Start 2, 3, and 4, which starts you with a bonus action point. I have all those, but I don't have the first one, which is the cheapest and the easiest to get on everybody. That one you have to actually come back and get later on. The tricky devs did that kind of thing. One thing I did find, which I want to highlight here, which really was awesome, was some of the most beautiful zones I've seen in the game so far, and they're optional side zones. From what people were telling me is like some of these were supposed to be part of the MSQ, the main story quest, but got removed for pacing, or, you know, they took care to be like, this zone is brilliant, and it is. It's astonishing. Like, the care and attention to detail. And I was talking to people as we did this particular golden forest one, was, can you imagine being the world designer and like the intricate placing of the foliage? This rock needs to be here. This needs to be here. You know, just like the stone needs to be here. We need the water to lap up against the rocks here. And then this needs to lead up into here. Like all that care and attention to detail to fill out these worlds. And I've spoken to a number of devs who build things like this. The most recent one was actually the Path of Exile 2 dev who fills out the maps. So, you know, they get a bare blank map really with routes, and then they literally paint in all the debris and all the foliage and things like that. And the amount of work that takes to get like just one screen done, let alone, you know, a massive map. And it was gorgeous. It was absolutely stunning and breathtaking. Found out some little story bits because there is a lot of like lost boys here and shadowed creatures who keep talking about. The biggest mention that's happened in the latter half of the game is that there's somebody in charge, like a general. There's somebody who's maybe above the paintress. Like, more and more indications are coming that the paintress is not inherently a bad person, but they're very confused as to what she's doing. This is from the Nevrons. Like, the paintress was always good, so why is her paint killing people? Why does that happen? We don't understand why our mistress would do this. And I found this, like, very interesting, and they keep mentioning him. And I'm like, who is that? Who's the one behind the scenes here? Because it's not Renoir. It might be Alicia. We might be looking at like a Resident Evil, the one with the family. I think it's 7. Yeah, Village was 8, right? I don't know. They all get. It might have been 6. Where the actual main antagonist is, without spoiling it, somebody who's kind of like, oh no, that's really bad. And everything starts to make a lot more sense when you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not good. So I wonder if it's somebody, I wonder if it's SK. I really do, but unlikely unless we get a different sort of mount system for endgame. I totally suspect there's a massive endgame here that I'm looking forward to getting to. But what an extraordinary time. Some highlights for you. We're definitely doing the sheep boss. I think the big one, I'm going to get his name wrong. He's a huge creature that's in the water. I think he's called Sproggan or something like that. Or Sprong? Might be Sprong. I bumped into Sprong. I'd actually bumped into Sprong a couple of days ago, but definitely became very aware very quickly. It's like, oh, okay, this thing has a lot of health and variety of attacks. We'll come back later. This was the coming back later. I gave Sprong about 30 minutes. And similar to other bosses, I could absolutely kill Sprong, and in fact did fight Sprong for, we probably gave this longer, a full 30-minute pull, but he was only at half HP. And that was with like some good, decent offense that my team could put out there. The only downside to my team is Monako right now. Not that Monaco's a bad character, but Monako has become my sort of Picto bitch. Which means every time we pick up a new Picto, it's up to Monako to level them. He has them all. We had a brilliant setup that I think I could scale in a ridiculous way, which is auto-death. This is very clever and how much fun they're giving. Again, it kind of like PoE is that you can set up these ludicrous builds. So Monako would, I had to level auto-death, so he had to equip it, which meant he dies the second combat starts. However, you could tie in a bunch of Pictos to somebody dying immediately. You can make them explode and do a ton of damage and then apply burn. You can also have it so when somebody dies, he just gives tons of action points and buffs to everybody else. It just chain reacts in a huge amount of ways. I had a really great moment. I doubt Bex can find it because it happened in a split second. Where somebody tried to charm Monako. They did. He killed himself, corpse exploded, and killed them off the back end. Like, those chain reactions are just so fun. And I was like, what? It took me a second to process. Like, what happened there? Oh, like, they chain reacted. Oh, they mind controlled him, he killed himself, and that blew him up, and then he killed him. He killed them. Wow, GG. That was super, super cool. I did some really interesting caves with some bosses at the end. I'm definitely a bit too strong now for some of these because you can find these things way earlier than I am in the game. Nature of RPGs, right? It did lead to some interesting discussion on the idea of scaling. I hate scaling in RPGs. I really do. I think you should be overcoming and be more powerful than other older areas of the game. There's no fun. There's a lack of fun. It's not to say there's no fun, but there's a lack of fun for me in getting really, really strong, and the world just gets stronger with you, and you're like, well, what's the point? Like, sure, my numbers are higher, but their health is also higher. Like, I should be able to go back and overcome, especially if you're struggling with a boss. Going away and leveling up and getting stronger to come back and just have an easier time is a legitimate strategy that should be able to be used by anybody. It's like, oh, this is really hard, which is what I had with Sprong. I'd messed up an attack on Sprong and he killed me after 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, he's got like half his health left. This is going to be a 1 hour pull. And no doubt he has some sort of desperation phase where I'll have to relearn it. So it's probably at least 2 or 3 pulls. That's like 3 hours, dude. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'll come back later on when the damage changes or something and do that. But by that point, I'd explored practically the entire world map as far as I know. I've known that I've missed something. But for the most part, I did everything I could on the world map and had a wonderful time doing it. And then it was time for the MSQ, where we're going to be doing the Axums. At first, I did see the barrier to try and go to the monolith and got a cool cutscene where you get sort of electrocuted trying to go to the paint truss. The monolith is protected by this barrier, which I think they're called Axons or Axums, something like that. And then I stumbled into the amphitheater, which is going to be Serene, or Serene. It's a French pronunciation, but Serene. Who's this giant, dancing, charming lady. I'm desperately worried. This is where we're up to right now, and I was working through this area, but every enemy is a flying enemy. This would not be the first time I've had to deal with something where the most effective strategy of fighting it is with guns and making everything a pure gun build, but I am hitting that wall, especially now I have something like 60 Pictos to choose from and build loadouts, that respecking my team in a dramatic way, such as like, okay, we need to make them all in essentially on guns, which requires swapping a ton of Pictos and Luminas to a gun build, is just really irritating. And I've held off until now. I've done most of this palace. We ran out of time because drama time was coming before we actually got to the boss, which I'll be starting with today. But, like, the prospect of doing that and then swapping everybody back afterwards and trying to remember exactly what they had, like, I feel like I'm going to start taking screenshots. And I'm only doing 2 characters, by the way, because Monaco has the most scuffed build of all time because he is my Picto leveler. So he has nothing equipped that's, like, of relative usefulness whatsoever. Yeah, I'm basically 2-man in the game at this point, and Monaco is, like, along for the ride so he can be a feet sniffer. Just that prospect of like, I just want to get away with this so I don't have to spec everybody into guns. But we'll see. I haven't actually fought the boss yet. If it is a case of that, I'll obviously do that. But I know the devs have said, we've had recent updates, the devs are working on loadout systems, and that can't come soon enough. It is the biggest detractor of the game, is they give so much fun, variety, and options and abilities that it needs loadouts to sustain the fact that, like, Monaco, for example, is leveling my Pictos. Every time we nearly finish them, I found, like, 2 or 3 more. And it's like, sorry, Monaco, you're back in it again. So it's like auto-death and this and this and this. And then I did an arena, a gestural arena, where I got, like, 5 lone wolf ones, which I don't need to level. But I'm going to, because they stand out in the list of being not done. So I'm going to do them as well. And then we did the other ones. It's like, well, here's another few more. Just as it was, I'm like, that's like every 4 battles, they gave me a bunch of new ones. I'm like, all right, well, sorry, Monaco, this is your job now. This is what you're going to do. But in summary of the day, what fun to have just exploring and playing the game, just enjoying the video game for its gameplay and exploration and just being in the world and not being overly concerned about, oh, okay, yeah, there's some side stuff, but I really want to do the story. I love the story, but I also love playing the game, which bodes really well for whatever the end game of this game is. So as it stands right now, I could not be happier. One of the most fun days I'd had with the game, just playing, just having fun, just shooting shit, working on hard bosses, exploring new zones, finding hidden pathways and things like that. All great, man. All great. Nothing but happiness. But we are done with that. So next update will be like all story, probably. So I'll let you know what happens then. Thank you for listening. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.